I think by now everyone knows that I love feline creatures. So it should probably be expected if I was to get excited about an all cats movie. Well, you'd be very wrong. Mostly because I really, really hate musicals. Unless they're funny and ironically singing about something serious, I just can't stand them. When I go to the movies, I enjoy the acting and I enjoy the story. As soon as someone starts singing, they're not acting like a human anymore. They're acting like someone in this illogical universe where everyone just starts singing and dancing. All of a sudden, there are dancers and singers singing and dancing to the tune that comes out of nowhere, singing the lyrics that they've never heard before. It doesn't make sense and it pisses me off. In a theatre, I can appreciate it more. Theatre is fundamentally strange. The thing about theatre that you appreciate is that there are actors acting right in front of you. They might be singing or dancing. You admire the set design, the lighting, the transitions, the live music if there is some, etc. And in theatre, you can't show everything. So if you want to recreate New York City, you have to do that through creative ways, like through your set or through your costumes or through your accents. So when a movie like Cats is announced, I couldn't give two shits. I didn't even watch the trailer that everyone shit on. The concept of a Cats theatre show didn't even interest me either. Okay, side note. So when I went to acting school, there was this activity that we'd do that we would embody an animal. The idea is that it would inform our character's speech pattern, movement, gestures, and temperament. So you'd have a room of about 10 to 20 actors acting like animals. And the thing about actors is that we like to be seen. So imagine a room full of amateur actors who are all trying their best to be the animal. It's not great. So the idea of people acting like cats really doesn't appeal to me. But I watched it anyway. So I'm going to go through the movie with you. Obviously, there are going to be spoilers. I doubt that you'll ever watch this movie, and I don't advise to watch the movie, so yeah. Another PSA before I start. This movie infamously had a remake of the CGI days after it was released. I have seen both now, and there is a discernible difference. In saying that though, I will be showing the remade version. So if you do think the CGI is really shit, this is the remade version. Okay, so yeah. Alright, let's go. So we start the movie with a car driving through a neighborhood of cats. The owner gets out of the car and dumps the cat. All of the cats are curious and dance around it until they let her free. Okay, pause. Not so much of a spoiler, but something I want to get out of the way straight away. This actress, Francisca Hayward, makes the movie. As much as she can, at least. She carries this very, very heavy movie on her shoulders. And I really want to acknowledge that. Let's continue.
Are you blind when you're born?
And there it is, folks. We begin the movie with a very, very strange question.
Can you see in the dark? Can you look at a king?
Would you sit on his throne?
I'm not going to play this whole song for obvious reasons, but I really just want to say, not a great start. Look, regardless of the obvious weird cat CGI, which I'll get into later, trust me, I'll get into it, this song is just stupid and irritating.
When you fall on your head, do you land on your feet?
When you fall on your head, do you land on your feet? No. You land on your head. This song is trying to emit a cat vibe. I get it. Landing on your feet, seeing in the dark, king like a lion. I get it. It's trying to be creative. But it's not.
Because jellicles can and jellicles do.
Jellicles do and jellicles can.
Jellicles can and jellicles do.
It's sort of catchy though, I have to say.
Jellicles can.
Jellicles can and jellicles do.
Jellicles.
I have to give credit where credit is due, and again, Francisca Hayward is so good. I can see why she was cast in this movie. She's a phenomenal dancer. After the song and dance, we are introduced to Macavity, played by Idris Elba.
Going to the ball. I wouldn't if I were you. Could get dangerous.
And for the most part, his character model isn't cringy. Maybe because he's not uncomfortably naked. And as we'll see later, he doesn't move like he's trying to be a cat, which surprisingly works in his favour.
You know, they say Macavity will win this year.
Macavity.
So Macavity is the cat that everyone is scared of. and he mentions that he's going to win this year. What's he going to win? Don't know, but apparently he's the man. Cat.
There's no one like Macavity, a wonderful magician.
We find out our first important character trait, that he's a magician.
Well, let me see him.
Come on!
Magic.
Victoria is then saved as he disappears.
So, what's your name?
Cat got your tongue?
Oh man, the hiss is cringeworthy, and the pun afterwards. We get it, they're cats. You don't have to be so on the nose with it. These two ask for a name, and she says Victoria. But they say you must have another, which of course leads to another song.
Another?
The naming of cats is a difficult matter.
So they explain that the cat must have an owner's name from a human, then a made-up name for their cat society, and then they say you must have a third name that can never be guessed. So it's a name that only they know.
And that's the name that you
Never will guess. The name that no human research can discover, but the cat herself knows and will never confess.
I'm not sure why, but you're meant to have a third name for yourself. So it's not a name, because a name is what other people refer to you as. And that's it, that's all they talk about it. They start dancing afterwards, so I assume that's what they mean by their name. Like that's their name? Their dance is their third name? Or maybe I'm just overthinking it.
Mr. Mistopheles! The magical cat!
So we get interrupted by the most annoying cat in the film, Mr. Mistopheles, who decides that he'll just interrupt everyone. And he's clumsy. We can tell this by the way that he falls over. So I've watched this movie a few times now, unfortunately, and I couldn't understand why I hated this actor. And then it came to me. He looks exactly like Logan Paul. Look, it's like he played him. If you don't know who Logan Paul is, he is a YouTuber, a former Viner, and in general, just a big f***er. That's really all you need to know about him. Okay, back to the film.
Jellicles come to the Jellicle Ball.
Mr. Mistopheles speaks of a Jellicle Ball. What is a Jellicle Ball? Luckily for us, there is a song and dance about the Jellicle Ball. So this cat Munkenstrap, which by the way is a main character but I don't think he's actually ever formally introduced, explains that the Jellicle Ball is where old Deuteronomy will make her Jellicle choice, which means she will send one cat to another life. You're keeping up with this, right? I don't blame you if you're not, because look, it took me a second time watching this to actually understand that there is a story in this film. And I can confirm now, there is a story. It's not a great one, but there is one.
The Heaviside Layer. Far, far up in the sky. The most deserving cat will be born into another life.
So they can be who they've always dreamed of being.
How will they be chosen? By singing the song of themselves, of course.
Who they are and what they do.
Come see a cat who's competing to be a Jellicle choice tonight.
Watch me do a silly little crawl now. The little crawl he did was so unnecessary. So he takes Victoria to introduce one of the contestants, Jenny Anydots, played by Rebel Wilson. So we can all assume what's coming, right? So one way to introduce a character is by having something happen to them or by the way that they act. So how do you think that Jenny Anydots is introduced? Let's have her falling over and being clumsy and falling over again. Oh, and getting hit in the head and falling over. We fucking get it. Jenny Anydots starts singing on how she trains mice and cockroaches to sing and dance because she is so bored, which is also where we really get to see the movie started with its phenomenal CGI. It's also super confusing because the scale of the cats to certain things varies dramatically. The cans for some reason are so small, and the mousetrap is huge and the mouse are tiny. So Jenny Anydots' reason for wanting a new life is that she doesn't want to be in the kitchen anymore. Fair. Soon after we finish this magical performance, we are introduced to Jason Derulo's character, Rum Tum Tugger, casually eating a piece of chicken to show how cool he is.
Get out of this kitchen now! Let's dance!
This is the fundamental issue with musicals. She just told him to get out of the kitchen, and now she's singing and dancing for him. It doesn't make sense. The Rum Tum Tugger is frustrated because he's never comfortable with what he's given. If he's in a house, he wants to be in a flat. If he's in a flat, he wants to be in a house. Such a hard life.
Do you think he just got neutered? Because those notes are like, you know.
Thank you for explaining the joke to us because we didn't know what neutered meant. So after another terrible song and dance from a character we don't care about, we are introduced to yet another cat we'll grow to care nothing about. Hi guys, sorry to interrupt your viewing pleasure, but I just realized while I was editing that I call Jennifer Hudson Vanessa Hudgens this whole video. So, Jennifer, sorry for calling you Vanessa. This time it's Jennifer Hudson's character, Grisabella, a once former beauty, the glamour cat.
You see the border of her coat is torn and stained with sand.
But now all she does is cry. Seriously, the whole movie she's crying. And her coat is stained with sand. Sand? Sand.
Who was she?
Grisabudu unfortunately made the decision a while ago to go with Macavity, which was a mistake because now she lives in the wasteland. She's not the glamorous cat she once was.
Good evening, all.
Oh no, look what the cat dragged in.
Puns, more puns, yay! If I can give credit again to this movie, I actually think the casting choices were actually really good in this film. Majority of these actors are very good and they're interesting and they do fit the bill. Unfortunately, I don't think they realised what they were getting into. Like James Corden, who plays Bustopher Jones. Another cat who is attempting to be chosen for another life. And he does a great job. He's enthusiastic, he's charismatic. His character wants to be reborn into a thin cat because right now, he's fat. So whilst the cats sing and dance with Bustopher, Macavity approaches Jenny Anydots.
That face should be on a poster.
What's curious about this scene is that she doesn't recognize Macavity. With all this talk about Macavity, you would think that she knows who he is, but apparently she is the one cat who doesn't know who he is. Bustopher Jones' song is about how much he eats, which was, sort of expected, but it's all getting a bit dry at the moment. So he sees Macavity, who tempts him to jump into the bin of food. Unfortunately, this was a rouse to get him. Who didn't see that coming, right? The cats disperse and Victoria loses the group. Luckily, she's picked up by two twins named Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer, who of course go into a song which doesn't rhyme again like every other song in this film. Mungo Jerry and Rumpelteazer are essentially cat burglars. I wish I didn't say that. They sneak into houses and cause chaos, stealing things and messing everything up. These guys are pretty boring and irrelevant to the movie, so we're going to go past this. All you need to know now is that they leave her accidentally chained to the bed when a dog approaches. But alas, Mr. Mistopheles comes to save the day. They have a moment before...
I've been looking for you everywhere. I thought you'd missed the arrival.
What arrival?
Of Old Deuteronomy.
Meanwhile, in the docks, we see Jenny Anydots and Bustopher Jones fall into a boat. We find out that...
Oh no, you're not going anywhere, Puss in Spooks. I'm determined to win and I prefer my competition chained up.
Of course, we are introduced to yet another cat that is insignificant, Growl Tiger. These names are pretty unique, aren't they?
Right, no, see, that doesn't rhyme. You can't just say Thames because it rhymes with Ames. It's the River Thames.
Ironically, although he's talking about pronunciation, Bustopher points out that the song doesn't rhyme. And I say ironically because none of these songs rhyme. I don't know about you, but I like my songs rhyming. It sounds good. Victoria and Mistopheles return to the group. If you want a song to start in a musical, all you have to do is ask a question.
You're just in time to see Old Deuteronomy.
Who is Old Deuteronomy?
Old you.
So who is Old Deuteronomy? He's dreaming. So who is Old Deuteronomy? She's an old cat. That's who she is. Played by none other than Judi Dench. You just said she's coming. Of course it's Old Deuteronomy, you fucking idiots. Sir Ian McKellen is in this film. They got him too.
Jellicle cats are black and white.
And that was the sound of his career coming to an end. No, I'm just joking. But damn. Gandalf, Magneto, Gus the cat. There's a dancing performance which would be really great in real life, but the CGI ruins it. I can't appreciate this dancing because of the CGI and the constant camera cuts. And great, Jason Derulo's back.
It's party time. With your permission, of course.
Is it weird that I'm attracted to her even as a cat? Again, this would be so cool to see live, but the problem is, this is a film. It doesn't work. I don't appreciate anything they're doing right now, even though I can see it's a lot. So Victoria leaves the ensemble to catch her breath. She sees Grizzaboots crying again outside.
In the lamplight.
This is where we're meant to feel for her. But we don't. Because she's fucking boring. I remember again a while ago when I was studying acting, I had a teacher who brought up a really, really good point. We don't feel as much for characters who are crying than we do for the ones who are trying not to cry. And the reason we go for the ones who are trying not to cry is because they're fighting for something. We cheer for characters who fight for what they want. I don't care about her at all. And the same goes for Mr. Mistopheles. Both of these characters don't fight for what they want. Anyway, Grizzy sings about how she used to be something back then. So then Victoria sings about how she has had no past, but now she feels happy to be with these jelly cool cats. Old Deuteronomy watches her and adds to the singing afterwards in a confusing addition. She then invites Vanessa to watch her make the Jellicle choice, saying that maybe one day she'll be a Jellicle cat. Mistopheles gets Gus from backstage because right now is his time to introduce himself in the hopes that he gets given a new life, which by the way is now introducing a new character an hour into the movie.
No, it's all practice, then nothing can go wrong. Touch wood.
Get it? He rubbed his face on the wood just like a cat would? Genius.
Cross pause.
Cross pause, 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 cross pause. You don't have fucking pause. I would have thought that the writer would be self-aware enough to know that this line doesn't make sense, unless we ignore the fact that these particular cats don't have paws. They have hands. They're hands. I was going to mention that Gus seems like a normal name. Finally, except that he mentions that his name is Asparagus. Asparagus sings his song about how he was once famous and an actor in his youth. And honestly, it's not a bad song. It's interesting, it gives his character life. No complaints here. After Gus's song, Macavity is in the back of the theatre, where he lures Gus to give him an autograph, tricking him and teleporting him to the ship with the others. Meanwhile, Old Deuteronomy introduces our next irrelevant character,
Skimbleshanks, the railway cat.
So in the film version, I really don't feel like this character is relevant to the story at all. And I guess in the theatre it would be exciting to see a different type of dancer, considering we've seen all these other types of dancers. So showing a tap dancer, regardless of his uselessness in the story, would be, exciting to see. He's also the only one wearing pants, just in case you didn't understand from the song that he's a railway conductor. I don't know how a cat is a railway conductor, but this guy is a railway conductor. What makes his introduction even more confusing is that there is no obvious reason for his motivation to be given a new life. Some of the other cats, they're trying to get back to their former glory, while others are trying to make up for mistakes that they've made in the past. And, other cats are trying to get out of the environment that they're in. But with him, no. Let's just slap a tap dancer in there and just call him a railway cat. But I guess it's a good introduction to the climax of the movie. Macavity, with his special magic, teleports Skimbleshanks to the docks. He's now ready to introduce himself to Old Deuteronomy. Well, actually, he doesn't introduce himself. Taylor Swift does. Taylor, aka Bombalurina. What kind of fucking name is that? Bombalurina drugs all the cats with catnip, so they all go a little bit cuckoo. In credit to Tay-Tay, it's a good performance. Again, ruined by being on film. Nonetheless, at least her drugging all the cats makes sense as to why they're all dancing with her. So Macavity reveals himself, and he's, naked. Like, obviously all the other cats are, but it's sort of weird going from clothed to naked. I just had a thought. This could be the new James Bond and M, but now they're cats. Well, at least they were in something together, right? Old Deuteronomy is taken to the boat, where she is made to walk the plank for refusing to take Macavity to the Heaviside Layer. I just realised I haven't explained what the Heaviside Layer is. The Heaviside Layer is where the cat who is chosen goes to start the new life. The cats scramble to figure out where to find Old Deuteronomy, and Victoria comes up with a plan to have Mr. Mistopheles magic her back, the same way Macavity magicked her away. Of course, this leads to a song and dance. Don't worry that she's possibly in a lot of trouble. Let's just sing and dance for a little bit. So the magic Mr. Mistopheles attempts a few times to bring her back. He has no confidence, so it fails to work time and time again. Kinda drags on. But anyway, because Victoria starts singing, he gets on heat and brings her back. Then he starts making everything float. I'm really not making this up. Victoria then decides to chase after Grizzlebum, and then we're transitioned to the boat where the cats rebel after Macavity feels tricked and leaves. They get out of the chains somehow, and of course Rebel smacks herself in the face. Just in case you didn't realise by now, she's clumsy.
Don't mess with the crazy cat lady.
I'm just going to play this fight scene out for you guys. I don't think it needs my narration. Victoria thinks the Sookin Boots Grizzlebully deserves another life. Grizzlebutter is shown by Victoria that she's accepted. By Victoria, at least. Victoria asks her to sing, and sing she does.
Let your memory lead you.
And of course cries more. But damn does she sing. And everyone accepts her because they see the pain in her heart. Old Deuteronomy makes her jellicle choice.
You are the jellicle choice.
I just reckon that they made her the choice so they could get rid of her. Like, bye-bye. Oh, thank God she's gone. I couldn't wait for her to leave. So anyway, they put her in a chandelier and off she goes. Off to her new life. But of course, not unless Macavity has anything to say about it. He fails and falls. The guy who has the magic to teleport himself and other people from one side of the city to the other can't teleport himself inside the chandelier. And then he falls and gets stuck on a statue and then can't get himself off of it. So So then we get to the resolution of the movie, where they all sing a song about nothing, letting the hot air balloon whisk Grizzlebottom away. And so we get to the point I made earlier in the video. Why is Victoria singing right now? Surely she doesn't know any of the song. She's been there for less than 24 hours. So anyway, we get to the song that finishes the movie. I assume that this is taken and done just like it is in the theatre show because it's done directly to the audience, aka the camera. Old Judy breaks the fourth wall and sings to the camera. If you don't know what breaking the fourth wall is, it's when a character talks directly to the audience. It's done mostly in theatre and for the most part works very well given the circumstances. And I'm sure this would have worked absolutely fine in the theatre because this last song is pretty much a thank you to the audience. It's a gift and a direct thank you to the audience for coming that night. But it doesn't really work well on screen. And I'll get to that more in a moment because that's really what this review is about.
You've learned enough to take the view. The cats are very much like you.
Yeah, these cats are very much like us when they're just hairy versions of humans with no genitals. And we get to that heartwarming part of the film where old Denshi announces to Victoria that she is now a Jellicle cat.
I believe you truly are a Jellicle cat.
Not that we know what the f that is. And like that, we are finished with the film. So what did we learn? Well, it's okay sometimes to not really have a great story if the show is essentially singing and dancing. You don't go to a circus show to watch the story, like sometimes you wouldn't go to a musical to watch the story either. But this is a film. And back to my main point, this hasn't and doesn't translate to film at all. The spectacle of the singing and dancing is completely destroyed by the terrible choices in the CGI and the constant camera cuts rather than displaying the talent of these fucking people. It actually pisses me off. If I was a dancer in this film, I would feel completely robbed. Look at this part where Vanessa bourrées backwards. We don't even see it, but it at least seems like it was done flawlessly. And to reiterate, Francesca Hayward carries this film. If she wasn't in the film, it would be 100 times worse. Yes, the rest of the cast is phenomenal. James Corden, Judi Dench, Idris Elba, Robbie Fairchild, Ian McKellen, fucking Taylor Swift. This is a great cast. Rebel Wilson, Jason Derulo,
Jennifer Hudson.
But Francesca Hayward is still the standout. She did so much with what she was given. Okay, the singing. Yeah, the singing is okay. When you have Taylor Swift and Jennifer Hudson and Jason Derulo, you know, professional singers, the singing has to be pretty good. But the byproduct of that is that you're going to make everyone else look like shit. But that's besides the point because it's not even that annoys me. It's that these songs don't rhyme and are extraordinarily terrible. The lyrics don't make sense in most of them. The first Jellicle Cats song I had stuck in my head for a day and it is very catchy. The Gus song is really good at explaining who the character is and where he came from. And Vanessa and Grizzletooth's last song at the end is also a bit catchy as well. But that's it. They are terribly written. And the CGI choice. Yeah, well, that's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? Don't ever do that again. No one ever do that again. The acting was great. By everyone, legitimately, it was actually so good. To do what this cast did with the facial capture and the motion capture is actually mind-blowing. Kudos to them. I think that's it. You know, theatre is a dying art form, but the people who decided to make this movie just took a fat shit on it. If I can make a suggestion, go and see a theatre show. They're usually pretty good. And if you want to see a good Broadway show, go and see The Book of Mormon.
Do you know how to go to the heavy side layer? Because Jellicles can and Jellicles do.
Jellicles do and Jellicles can.
Jellicles can and Jellicles do. Jellicles do and Jellicles can. Jellicles can and Jellicles do.
Ride on a broomstick to praise